permit to do business as a vehicle repair shop and a drive-through restaurant for, and have a drive-through for a future restaurant, 6:30 on May 11th, 2021. So please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As a point of clarification concerning mask, if you've received both doses and you're comfortable with it, feel free to take your mask off. If not, no problem with you wearing it. Roll call, please.
Planning and Zoning Board Commissioners, Jerry Daly.
Here.
George Duberstein.
Here.
Priest.
Here.
Koval. Here. Darrenowski.
Here.
Georgianne Duberstein. Here. And Chanelwith.
Here. Need a motion to approve the agenda? So moved. Second. Roll call.
Commissioners, Jerry Daly.
Aye.
George Duberstein.
Here.
Priest.
Aye.
Koval. Aye. Darrenowski.
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein. Aye. And Chanelwith.
Aye. Notice of requirement review.
Okay. The notice on the letter, the notice was published in the Daily Herald on Wednesday, April 14th for 1 day only. 90 certified letters were mailed out on April 16th, and we have received 75 receipts, letters back. The public hearing signs were posted on Monday, May 3rd, and so Firestone has met all the requirements that is needed.
Thank you. The next is administration of oath to all who will testify, so including our guests. If anyone wishes to speak during the meeting, you'll need to stand and take the oath with us now.
So you might as well have everybody get up and do it with us, just so that we don't have to read. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do swear or affirm.
I do swear or affirm.
To testify truthfully before the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Testify truthfully before the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Of the Village of Hainesville.
Of the Village of Hainesville.
During the hearing for a special use permit.
During the hearing for special use permit.
Thank you.
Petitioner testimony. Gentlemen, you're on.
I think it's easier for me to manipulate the situation or something over here. Is that okay?
That's true. And if you feel better, the microphone is portable, you can take it with you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. If you need me to use it, let me know. I'm usually pretty boisterous. But no, my understanding is that Firestone has been through this process before. So basically what we've done is come through and kind of redesign the building to make it a little bit cheaper. We've basically taken off the second story of it and taken away one of the bays. And aside from that, this is pretty much the exact same design that we had before. So I think I'd like to open up with any questions that you guys might have since you're familiar with the project and we've been there before.
Could you introduce yourself, please?
Oh, I apologize. I'm Mohammed Starks with Shrimp Construction. And we're the general contractor that is working with Greg and Joe at Firestone to put this project together.
All right, you said you removed the second floor.
Yes.
A little bit more detail, please.
Okay, in the
And
original...
how might have changed the front, if at all?
What we did is in the original drawing, there was a second floor here in the middle, over this area here. And what we did was kept the facade. That was something that was approved. The village liked the look of it. So we took that extra storage space out. Joe and Greg said they didn't need it. But, you know, kind of designed the building with a parapet wall to have the same look that you guys approved before.
Okay.
So it's now just fully a one-story building. And there's no storage space up on the second floor.
And there was the bays on the southeast end are double-sided.
Yes.
If I seem to recall, you can stack 2 cars.
So there's garage doors on front and back.
Okay.
Allow entrance from either way.
Okay. And one was removed from the end.
Yeah, one.
Okay.
And so what we've done is we've removed that for economy at this point, but are building the pad out and covering it up with landscaping material so that if we need to expand in the future, that's an option towards us. But for now, leave it for potential expansion, but taking me off now.
By pad, you're not talking about concrete? Are you extending concrete out and putting dirt on top, or just under what are you putting there when you say you're extending the pad?
We are extending concrete out, correct, Warren?
Well,
This is Warren Johnson. He's
Warren Johnson, I'm the architect. When we say pad, we have capabilities of adding another bay to the side where it used to be on the, I don't know the orientation right there, but
The southeast.
so we're not pouring the concrete, we're gonna have the grass pad there for future excavation and foundation for an additional bay.
Okay.
So I apologize.
Would panel 2 or 3 show that on the revised site plan?
Yes.
And for board members, if you don't recall, this gentleman just spoke with John Halsey, our community planner from Halsey Levine.
So on this plan, this is the area right here that's in discussion. So this would be the bays, and then we're leaving the space open for further expansion. Does this make sense, or can I?
All right, board member questions, commission questions?
Yeah, I have a bunch, but is this the commission's section, or it doesn't make any difference?
Is there anything else that you need to present or would like to present concerning this, or are you ready just to hear our questions?
We're ready to hear your questions.
All right, George.
I realize that we've seen a bunch of this before, and I realize we're also at the 11th hour, so to speak. But when I got this thing in the email the other day, and all we had to look at was the elevation, so I'll direct my comments to that, because as far as the internal stuff, I don't have any issue with that. But looking at the elevation as we see it right now, a little disappointed. Under the findings of facts that we also got that we have to deal with tonight, it says, will the proposed development be harmonious with and in accordance with the general objectives of the comprehensive plan? And it's my opinion that it's not. Now, in creating this comprehensive plan back in 2010, we're trying to develop some kind of a character for this village, somewhat more rustic. And so far, it's not your problem, but so far we haven't done it. Now, with the exception of the mayor and Georgianne, no one else on this board was on the board when we adopted this 2010 comprehensive plan.
Mr. Darnowski was with us.
Oh, were you there?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought, all right. In any event, how about the rest of you?
What upsets you, George, about the presentation?
The elevation doesn't have the look as far as what we have in the comprehensive plan. In fact,
it's the same look that we passed.
yeah, I know that, but we have another bite at the apple, so to speak, tonight. So I just want to address some things and see if we can make. Anyway, here's something I took. Out of the comprehensive plan. Oh, wait, I got copies for everybody.
Can I have one?
Yeah, just a second.
Thank you.
Tuber's number, yeah. Want spelling?
John?
No, I can see it. So I went on one.
All right, look, I'm not trying to be difficult here, but as you notice, if you look at this extra,
You have another one?
yeah, sure. It looks like there's an undesirable and a desirable that we're looking at here.
Okay.
And if you look at the undesirable portion of this extra, it's pretty similar to what we have right now. So if we're not going to follow the comprehensive plan, then why bother having it? And why would we spend the money to update it if we're not going to follow the damn thing?
Well,
I know we went down this road before when we grew the Dunkin' Donuts building plan. Now, our challenge then was, if you remember, was we had some corporate dictates, but nevertheless, we were able to get some elevation enhancements. So that, wait a minute, I'm not finished. Let me get through my comments, and then you can do whatever you want to do. The takeaway then, as I remember, was that we were going to be a little more diligent in adhering to the comprehensive plan going forward. Well, obviously we didn't with Firestone's first plan, and Firestone's redoing their plan was a golden opportunity to revisit our comprehensive plan, but it appears we didn't do that either the first time go around. And anyway, so where we are right now, I don't certainly want to stick it to Firestone at this 11th hour. It's not their fault. And I realized, having worked in quite a few contracts in my military career, that if you don't articulate your desires early on, any changes at the late date are very costly. So, as a possible compromise at this late date, might we realize a change to Firestone's elevation here in the form of maybe more rustic siding and colors in lieu of the brick facing, for example? It might even be less expensive, I don't know. And can we replicate the peak roof that you have there on the yellow portion in another place as well throughout in the front of the building? So that's, you know, obviously we can't redo the entire thing, and I recognize that. But can we, since we're talking about some cosmetic things, can we do something to make it a little more rustic in accordance with the comprehensive plan?
let me see if I can clarify a point. How much, Mohammed, how much of that facade is wood or wood-like?
The center portion
The
here,
center portion, yeah.
which is the entry to the Firestone, and also the tenant space here. This projection is more wood-looking with the siding.
And the lower, underneath the windows, the yellow portion is?
So this is a concrete block, a split-face concrete block, masonry material.
Wood face, did I hear?
No.
This is masonry.
Masonry.
Yeah, split face
Concrete
concrete.
block, like a split face, not smooth, but more of a irregular split face appearance.
Maybe a difference in the color.
Joe,
We go
wasn't
with
the first time around, what is yellow here, a different color?
Yeah, we had a green color in our plans before. And then the brick was a red, multicolored, and then the wood siding was a green color. And I think that the comments then was concerning about the green and red.
Would it be more costly by a large amount, for example, to move, not to move, but to replicate that pink roof area in yellow someplace else as well?
That other extension where it comes out.
I do not think, and I'm not gonna. So, and just we tried to replicate what had been approved.
Yeah, no,
And so this is the first time hearing that there was kind of another issue that was going on with it. So this design is, you know, really based on what we thought.
No, I
You guys
understand
like,
that.
so absolutely. I mean, there is an opportunity
We didn't do perhaps what we should have done as far as early on getting comprehensive plan. I don't know why our planner didn't get involved in this either, but in any event.
George, yeah, we voted and approved it. These gentlemen followed what we.
No, I understand that.
Okay, so I
Just asking at this point, this late date in the process, is there anything we can do without really turning you upside down? Because I don't want to do that at this late date. Is there anything that we can do to make it a little more attractive in conformance with our comprehensive plan?
I would say our biggest constraint is the gentleman in Firestone, Joe Gray, gave us a pretty tight budget. And so, you know, we don't mind redesigning it, but
No, well,
we don't mind getting this look. I mean, we're not too far gone with that yet, but it's got to hit that budget. I mean, they told us
all right.
100%.
Well, all right,
They've got a number to hit.
There are two options here, or two issues here. One would be the costs involved in trying to redesign the other portion of the building to look a little like the peaked roof portion. That's one aspect. And maybe that's more costly as far as the budget is concerned. The other is, even if we were to leave it like it is, changing the colors or changing some of the facing to be more rustic is maybe not as expensive. I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, there's always possibilities to change various parts of the facade. So when I look at your picture example of something that is an undesirable character, a flat roof.
Right.
We don't have that. We took the time and expense to really differentiate the flat roof with different proportions.
Okay.
On both sides. And then in the middle, departing from that, and having more of a definition of entry with the gable, and still, again, as I said, these side views, more commercial oriented. So I don't see anything that's undesirable. I can see what you're saying, why your comprehensive plan doesn't like a flat roof.
All right, let's
And
just,
that's what we don't have.
all right, let's assume for the sake of argument that I agree with what you're saying, and we don't have a purely flat roof. What about color changes or some of the facades making it more rustic, either replacing the brick or putting...
This might bother everybody because it maybe looks like it's this.
It does.
But, and that's an artist's rendition, but really, if we really pay attention to the detail of the work, this is more of a buff color, split face concrete block. So you have a masonry looking color for the reddish brown. This could be like a limestone buff color. So I think maybe that would bother everybody because it's like, why does this look like this? Well, it won't. This will be siding wood oriented. This is maybe throwing everybody because it's not.
Well, what about the color of the yellow portion with the big roof?
There's so many color variations with that product, we can do that.
Can I ask a question? Could we, would it be less expensive to use siding instead of brick? And use a kind of siding that has a texture in it?
In this area?
Yes.
Well, that's a question for the operators, the owners, because this is maintenance free. This is going to last a long time, as the texture and everything is going to look better and last a long time. This is an accentuation of the entry. So you wanted to depart from that to define the entry, but I think masonry is a great use for the longevity of the building.
Like the yellow two-story is, if I seem to recall from our first approval, was planking of plank light. I don't know what your name is.
It was like a hardy board
Hardy board siding.
type of siding.
It's like a cementitious board, it's a planking that's also maintenance free, but
Yes,
we can
looks like
do
wood.
a variation on the color. I mean, we can duplicate this in a better buff color, to answer your question about colors, and we can look at that as a warmer wood tone if you want, a wood tone that might be comparable to the brick color, but not the same.
Why
Wait,
couldn't we
John?
use that same planking in a different color on where the brick is?
We absolutely can, but it would be an added expense to the owners in the future when they have to upkeep. So we had the longevity of the building in mind.
Okay. Mr. Darowski?
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be, because it's been known to happen, not often. But if we were to add another peaked roof, like the yellow section like George is suggesting, we would essentially be having to add 2 for symmetry, correct? Because it would look dumb to have it on just one side and not the other.
Well, if you're gonna add it here, you have to add it here.
That's what he said. So it would then therefore be over the bays, which would kind of look kind of dumb, in my opinion.
It's not dumb, it's added expense that.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just talking like for looks. You couldn't do it on one side without the other.
Couldn't you
You
do it in the
could,
middle
but-
of those 3? Couldn't you do it in the middle of those 3?
Well,
That's what John's talking about.
But the length of the building on the side where the bays are isn't the same size
it's
as.
the same building.
It's the same building.
So I will like to put, since I was testifying, I think it looks fine the way it is. And I mean, color choice is fine. We can talk about color, but as far as the building itself, I think you've gone out of your way to do the varying roof line like you suggested. I personally like the brick. I think the brick looks more natural. Wood also looks natural too, but I think the brick is very natural looking.
Joe, what color would you like? It's your business.
It honestly could care less.
Thanks for pulling me out of the fire on this.
So, I mean, really, if you have a different color in mind, we'll put the different color. That is minimal difference to me in the end. As long as, like, the brick idea was really pulling from the designs and all around the entire village, and I think that was part of the comprehensive to try to keep it cohesive. And everything around here has got brick. So keeping the brick for longevity, for cohesiveness throughout the village makes the most sense. And then we have a wood feature to kind of break up from it just being all stone.
Mr. Househill, thoughts?
Yeah, I don't like the yellow. I mean, now we're talking just about aesthetics at this point. I understand sort of value engineering the building after you get initial approval to sort of decrease the articulation, change the building material a little bit. You sharpen your pencil, you try to get the same aesthetic for a lower price. That's fairly standard. I think they've done a pretty good job with that. There's a little bit of our building articulation that's no longer present, demarcating the different tenant spaces with the vertical contrast that goes sort of column-like between each tenant space. They've got a little bit, what looks like probably a 2-inch relief at a few different points along the facade. The thing that makes it look a little bit confusing here is I like the forest green or darker green color that was before. I can't remember if the board did as well or not in the previous version. But what looks a little bit, I guess I would say, synthetic here is you've got this split face masonry concrete providing the foundation or base of this going up about 4 feet. It's the same color yellow in appearance as the wood siding board, and that would look weird. But that's not how it's going to be in real life.
Yes.
So this rendering is a little bit off from what it looks like. I would not recommend making the whole thing wood. I would not recommend making the whole thing boarding. With the location of this on the site, what's going to make this work or not is the landscaping and the site itself, not the building per se. If you think back to the Dunkin' Donuts as well as this one, it's atypical in comprehensive plans typically to have design guidelines for commercial properties. And I know your comprehensive plan has that, but to project forward 10+ years and put a rustic elements on contemporary commercial development that has to be resilient, low maintenance, high quality appearing over time for a major arterial commercial corridor. Wood siding doesn't age well like a well-designed brick building will age. So the compromise last time was to put the middle element, because I think the first concept, it didn't have the brick, or the wood. So they brought in the pitch roof, they brought in the wood to provide some component of the rustic wood siding element to pick up some of the components of the comprehensive plan. I think initially it was all brick. Aesthetically, I like the all brick, but it's not consistent with the plan, so this was the sort of the hybrid solution that was agreed to. I'm not a fan of the light color yellow, but that's just a visual preference at this point. So from The modifications do not intensify the site. They do not increase traffic. They do not have more injurious impact to adjoining properties. It does not change the primary or secondary use of the property. So from a land use, zoning, site intensification, or impact perspective, there are no changes on this one versus the other one. At this point, it's primarily just aesthetics. And that could be a discussion that the board and the applicant can have. I mean, I don't like the light yellow, that's me.
I think
You're
we're,
not married to the town.
I think we're in agreement that the yellow goes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what caught my eye in the first place.
And we're not approving that
Right,
or
right.
that at all tonight. So that can be decided in the future before you have to order any material.
I am, and again, in the plan I reviewed before, maybe I was looking at, I looked at one that was dated at the same time as special use permit was provided last time. I don't know if you have the previously approved site plan, the previously approved special use plans. Yeah, do you have those? Or not?
We should, the previous approved?
Yeah, the only reason I'm wondering that is, it appears as though not there's only changes to the building, but the landscape islands have been removed, the landscape islands between the service space have been removed. It looks like a lot of the landscaping on the site, that would be interior parking lot landscaping has been removed from the scaled down version, but I can't remember for sure unless I look at the previous plan.
I think the only differences we have on there was some landscaping by the bay doors.
That's what I thought too, yeah.
Otherwise, we did not have any islands that came out taking away parking spaces.
There were no peninsulas in the front that pushed off in the front? Okay.
Because we didn't feel it was worth taking away a parking space when we actually have more landscaping on the property than was required for the space.
Joe, didn't we have some landscape around some of the light poles that were in the parking lot?
No, I don't believe we did. There was no poles like directly in the parking lot. Like
Okay.
there was on the building, and then it was all, I forget how you call it, but no light left the space and all that.
Joe, can I give you this microphone?
Yeah, sorry.
Georgianne?
Thank you.
The other buildings in the village were built before the comprehensive plan. So trying to match it to things that we didn't have any control over in the first place isn't exactly how we like to look at it now. If we're only talking about color changes, could we do it? I mean, brick comes in lots of different colors. Could we get something other than red brick that would look a little more rustic, maybe in the brown tones or beige or something? And then even if you wanted the dark green, it would look okay. The reason we didn't like green before was because it was red brick and red and green. But if we change the color of the brick, maybe the dark green, because that is a Hainesville color, is dark green, as you can see. But we have it in our logo, and our street lights are green. I mean, there's our water tower is green. So, I mean, if that's the
All right.
least that you could do, that'd be great.
John, correct me if I'm wrong. John Hulsey.
Yes.
I'll do that for free.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, sir. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to at least form an opinion. We can't grant the SUP, the special use permit, until a regular board meeting. But for the zoning commission to ask questions, we're not design approving tonight.
Correct.
So the question of color can be handled when appropriately. Question of color and exterior material.
Right.
Seems to be the issue.
You would be, with the final approval of the special use request would be handled by the village board. The recommendation regarding the matter would be made by this group to the village board. So what would come out of this evening would be a vote of a recommendation to the village board, would then take that recommendation into consideration. A recommendation can be made as presented, approval as presented by the applicant, or it can be denied, or the recommendation can be approval subject to changes that the applicant has given direction to. They then make those changes per direction, and they bring that back, and the approval then is evaluated based on that direction. So the recommendation is by this group, the approval is by the village board.
Understood.
I certainly like the
Peak.
yeah, no, not the peak, the awnings. But again, it's a color issue. So I would certainly be more comfortable with saying that we would approve the thing subject to maybe some color changes, either of the brick and the awnings and some of the other facade. So the question is, if that's all you're going to do is really change the color per se, are we really talking a lot of money here or not?
No.
No.
Okay. Let's make sure everybody else has had a chance to speak. Wally, anything?
The brick is going to be, oh, I'm sorry. The brick is going to be reddish, or is it going to be the brown?
What I think what would be a good idea moving forward, since we're not improving this right now, is if we put together a few more samples that have different colors in them, so that you guys can come in and look at 4 or 5 different choices and choose them. I mean, it's
Right.
you're not asking for us to raise the price of the project too much by changing, colors of siding and different brick and things like that. So whatever it is that you guys like, we certainly can go down that road, especially if Joe doesn't care. I mean, that was my big concern, was whether we sent this to him, we said thumbs up. If he tells us no, he's our client. That we want. So
Was the choice of yellow more to bring out the building there, as people are going by, or, is it more, or is it just?
I'm gonna let Warren fill that one.
It's all your fault.
Was the choice of yellow and red to kind of make the building pop when you drove by, or?
No, I think we need to, like Mohammed said, bring some samples next time, show you the brick variation, show you a more of a wood tone here, and show you more of a buff limestone down here. I think it's going to really transform the coloration and the rendering.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
And that's, I think, what we're all saying. Well, I don't have.
You're struggling with it because maybe
It's
the artist rendition really didn't depict it properly, but
right.
we'll bring samples so everyone, we're on record for the samples.
Anything else, Wally?
No.
Mary?
I think the facade looks okay, other than the colors.
Okay. John?
You didn't make any changes to the landscaping plan?
Well, when it's appropriate, I can answer that question now. That's what I I wasn't ignoring it. I was going through my emails on my phone and looked at the PDF. I was given a review for creating plan for this meeting, and the landscape plan is different than what's in this packet.
Different from the one you had to review?
Yeah. So, the landscaping in this packet, again, I'm not saying that this landscaping plan is inappropriate or not correct, but it's different than what was approved in the first special use. And the place where it's most apparent is like in that little island by the drive-through area. The previous landscape plan had a lot of like perennials and small plants and some bigger shrubs and whatever else. And this just sort of shows 3 trees there. So the landscape plan is different than was approved last time, and it's not the landscape plan that in my email that I reviewed for this.
But it's in keeping with our plan. I mean, it's,
Well, the one we approved prior.
right, but I'm saying, like, we have certain things set up in the comprehensive plan, like this many of this many of that per square foot. The plan that they presented right now still keeps within those guidelines.
That I don't know.
Let me put the question this way. Should we ask Mohammed and his group to replicate the plan that was, do you have a copy of the old plan, or can you obtain it?
We do not have a copy of the old plan. We looked for it, and I'm pretty sure we're not unable to find it.
Joe, do you have the old plans? If not, we can probably,
I'm sure I've got I'm sure back in my office on my server.
okay, here's what I suggest, and I'll listen to comments from the board. John, if you could get the contact information and forward it to Mohammed, we could replicate the previous landscaping plan.
Or, as far, this is, I kind of pulled it up here, we've got planting bed, sod, What was the
At
difference?
least take a look at it and make some suggestions.
Okay.
Right.
But I like the building the way it is, to be honest.
Not on the building right now, just on landscaping. I'm sorry if I cut you off.
No, I was saying, like, if the landscape, what I was saying is, I like the building the way it is right now, colors aside. If the landscaping plan is the same, I'm fine with it.
We had to have the landscape drawings redone by a new group.
It had to be redone partially because of the building being shortened and also that wonderful berm that's behind you.
Right.
Okay? All right, Georgianne, thoughts, comments?
I would accept it with the caveat that you would bring samples of other colored bricks and other colored paint, and to see what the siding or whatever that material is that's,
That's not a problem.
and maybe colors of the awnings that would blend with the different brick possibilities.
So their offer of bringing a different color scheme would, and what the mortar board that looks like planking looks like.
And I would caution the board that in the future we study the comprehensive plan right away so we can make any changes at the.
Or we rewrite it and bring it up to date.
No.
Jack?
I'm okay with the changes. We can talk about the colors. Let's take a look at the landscaping plan compared to this one to that one, see what the differences are, but the general design, I'm okay with it.
All right. At this point, any other comments from the board? We will have one more opportunity this evening. Okay, public comments or questions? Anyone? Okay. Last chance for the board this evening. Anything else that we haven't heard today?
Can I ask a question?
$5?
In a perfect world, if we were going to get closer to what you guys are looking for, what would you change? I mean, let's just pretend that
Color.
color.
Definitely, what is yellow needs to become something else.
Or talk about more peaks, things like that, or that's.
I think a couple of board members, and they can feel free to speak, would like more peaks, but from what I heard, the expense would be.
I don't think it would add to anything to the building itself. It would add 2 more peaks. I think you said you're putting one on the base.
Okay. I don't want to open up a can of worms,
Yeah.
but we also want
I don't
the
believe
city,
that.
Joe, everybody to be happy with what, you know,
No,
once it's up, it's up. You know?
I think
There's no-
at this point in time, recognize the expense of donating, as long as we look at the colors and the facade, as was pointed out, the aesthetics. I think.
Okay.
Would it, as direction of the architect, would it be fair to say that you're looking for something with more earth tones? Not like bright yellows or bright greens
Yes.
or bright,
Yes.
but more earth tones?
Yes.
So of all these on here, it's this bottom with the, I mean, it's red or brick, but we've got browns, brick.
Okay, so the things you can apply color to would be the center section, the awnings, possible a different shade of brick. You guys do this for a living, bring us some samples, or
Okay.
if you can. Now, we're scheduled for approval 2 weeks from now.
Mhm.
If you can somehow get samples to us before then, we can have them in here and trustees can come in and look at it. You know, even if you provide a different sketch with some samples,
Not a
I can
problem.
lay it out and they can view it, and that way we can at least walk into the next meeting with a better feel.
Okay.
Acceptable?
So if I follow it correctly, if we stick with more of a brown tone brick and then a green
Well,
color.
brown and green were suggested by 2
Right.
of the 6 board members.
Right, well, I mean, obviously the color options are gonna be infinite, so I just wanna make sure we can narrow it down to this more appealing look when we come, and it can be simpler, saves a
I
lot
like
of
black and white.
What?
Earth tones, as John said.
Earth tones.
Earth tones.
Mr. Halsey, any other comments?
So I was just gonna say, if it's okay with the plan commission, I can connect with you on building material, color, and landscaping, so that when something is presented next time, we know it sort of hits all the marks, or at least our best shot at it, so then it's done a dialogue about whether it does or doesn't meet what it should be, and then it's just an aesthetic question, so.
All right, then, so Kathy can write it down. John, will you share, once again, the statement that we could, for a recommendation that we need to come out of here?
Yeah, I think that it would be a recommendation to the village board for approval of special use number, whatever, for the automobile use and drive-through facility development, subject to the changes related to building material and color and landscaping as so directed. And then that recommendation for a positive recommendation is what we'll be considering, subject to them effectively addressing the landscaping and aesthetic issues.
Okay. Got that?
I talked fast. John, you guys should know.
So,
No.
since I'm a member of the board, I can actually make a motion. I move that we accept the current plan with the caveat exceptions of color changes, landscape plan, updating.
Yeah, revisions to material color, and landscaping as directed.
Okay. Oh, it's recorded. We're good.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? So Kathy wrote down as taped.
We're voting to make the recommendation.
Recommendation not
We're not
acceptance.
voting to approve.
So when the board can do that. All right. You set, Ms. Betzler? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Jerry Daly,
Aye.
George Duberstein,
Aye.
Priest,
Aye.
Koval,
Aye.
Dernoski,
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein, and Chanel Webb. Motion carried.
Need a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is closed at 7:12.